So the idea is to do one verse every day and then open it up to questions, and then we can go on as long as people have questions. So we'll do it like that. A little bit about the history of this text. Bhaja Govindam. Govinda is a name of Bhagavan, Ishvara, God. It's a very interesting derivation. Gobhihi vindate yaha. The one who is found through words. Very interesting. Why would you call Bhagavan the one who is found through words? The one who is found through words means what? The words of Vedanta, which reveal the nature of this God as non-separate from the I. Those are the words. And so the one who is found through words is Govinda. Go means words. Go means many things. Go means G-O, go, see, in English. And then go in Sanskrit also means Mother Earth. Go. And then what else does go mean? Go means words. Go means cow. So many things. But here we can take the one who is found through the words of Veda and Vedanta, which reveals the nature of Bhagavan, and as non-separate from the self, as non-separate from I. So this is the word for Ishvara, God, Govinda. Bhaja means please worship. Actually, let's cut out the please. I'm just doing that because I have lived in America for a long time. And so in India, we don't say please and we don't say thank you either. It's a unapologetic culture because the idea is to grow into is to grow into one who is free of guilt and hurt. So no apology is necessary. And it's also a thankless culture because we feel like everything is given by Bhagavan. And so what can I thank? Who can I thank for it? In the beginning, this used to be a problem. When I first went to the United States, they would say, "Oh my God, you're so impolite." Because I would say, "Give me that, pass me that, give me that." They would say, "You should say please." And then when I went back to India, they said, "You're so formal. What's wrong with you? You're saying please, thank you at every drop of a hat. We feel like we are strangers." So this is something very cultural, but bhaja is actually an imperative mood. Means you must worship Govinda. That's the title of this text. Better worship Govinda. Now, there is an immediacy, it's an order, it's the imperative mood, meaning you must do that, there is no other option. So, why does this text have this title? And what is the story behind it? It is attributed to Adi Shankara, but like I said earlier, we don't mind, we don't know who wrote it, doesn't matter. It has something wonderful to convey. And if you're fond of sarcasm, it is a very sarcastic text. It really is. So, so, so then there is a story behind it. And there is a story that Adi Shankara was going, the philosopher. We don't have a photo here, do we? Ah, there's one, yes, right in between the two gurus, there, and above Krishna. That's Adi Shankara. And that's the earliest link, one of the earliest links to our lineage. And that's why he's highly revered. He wrote commentaries to the Upanishads. He wrote many independent texts, like he's credited with writing many independent texts like this one. And he wrote commentary to an analytical text called the Brahma Sutras, aphorisms on Vedanta. So he is credited with a lot of these kinds of things. And so the story was that he took his bath and he was just going about his day. He was walking on the banks of the river when he came across an elderly Pandit. Pandit means learned person, learned man, who was practicing the verbal table, dhatu patha, the verbal table in Sanskrit. So he was going and he was reciting the verbs in Sanskrit, of which there are 2,200 only in number. And this is the building block of the Sanskrit language. So the story is that he was so wrapped in himself, rocking back and forth for the memory to come back, and then he was keeping on chanting the verbs. And then what happens is that then Adi Shankara saw him and felt sorry for him. Sorry that he had to study Sanskrit grammar. Not exactly. Sorry that even at this advanced age, it was an elderly grammarian, and even at this advanced age, at the end of the life, he is only concerned about grammar. Whereas he should be concerned more about lofty things, loftier things. He should be concerned about the point and the purpose of his life. And he should be concerned about how do I gain moksha? How do I gain freedom from a sense of bondage? And he should be concerned about these things rather than grammar rules. And so then this is how the first verse of the text was born. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. Govindam Bhaja Mudhamate. Samprapte Sannihite Kale. It's not there? Yeah, okay. One more time, because it sounded iffy. Yeah. Samprapte Sannihite Kale. Nahi nahi rakshati dukrinsh karane. This was his advice to the grammarian. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja. Why three times? Because if he didn't hear the first two times, because he was keeping on saying. So sometimes you say it in a different way. First you say Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam. That probably fell on deaf ears. Therefore what? Govindam Bhaja. So put the noun first and the verb afterwards. And then he also adds Mudhamate. Hey Mudhamate, vocative. He addresses him as, O you, the one endowed with a mind that is not very discriminative. Yeah, Mudha means deluded. O ye, endowed with a deluded mind, O you deluded one, in short. Why are you deluded? Because you should be looking at what is this Ishvara, what is Bhagavan, what is God. You should be looking at that, especially at this stage in your life, because you're not doing that. So this was the refrain. Govindam bhaja mudhamate. Samprapte sannihite kale. Sannihite kale means when the time of saying tata to this world arrives. And that will arrive when? We don't know when. It could be anything. The Bhagavad Gita says you have to think of Govinda in the last minute of the life. And then please think of the Lord in the last minute of your life. And then most people say, oh, last minute. Okay, no problem. Not now, last minute. Yeah. Do we know when the last minute is? No. We don't know when the last minute is. So therefore, here there is a certain urgency here. Samprapte sannihite kale, locative absolute construction, meaning when the last minute arrives, when the minute of resolution, meaning the orders from Lord Yama, the god of death, basically, in the Hindu tradition, when orders from Lord Yama come. The pink slip comes from Lord Yama. What does it say? Depart the body, leave now. Then what is the individual feeling at that time? Fraught with fear, fraught with terror. One doesn't know how protracted this death might be. And then nobody wants a protracted death, because then everybody will be tired of caring for me. I don't want this kind of a protracted death. And then what else? I also don't want a quick death, because I want time to say goodbye. So there is all these fears about how the end one is going to meet. And towards the end of the life, any disease comes, it doesn't go very quickly. And that also um, is a is fraught, the very thought of that is fraught with fear and all kinds of pains, sorrows. So then your grammar rules, do cringe karane, I'll say. We'll talk about that. That's do cringe is a root verb. Do cringe. Actually, it's just cringe, kr, to do, but then it has do in the front of it, so that certain operations can be done on this particular root verb. Like kritrimam, to put, to add that specific suffixes. So dupachash, paake, like that, certain verbs have that. So kritrimam, you can make a word. Kritrimam means something artificially done. Yeah. Paktrimam is not cooked food. It means something you have thrown together. That's what it is. So like this, to make certain things, the grammarian Panini had certain indicatory letters. So that is the do in do cringe. Cringe is the verb. Kr is the verb. So he says, at the last minute when you're fraught with fear, your grammar rules are not going to protect you, even though you have memorized them. Think of going deeper with your thoughts. Contemplate on the nature of your existence. Think of what is it that you want to achieve. Think of where is it that you want to go. Think of how you will find lasting peace and freedom from fear. And when we look at these kinds of questions, naturally we are not obsessed with grammar rules, because these kinds of questions are questions that bring us to places like the ashram here, or anywhere for that matter. Because one has taken to a spiritual life. Certain things have blossomed in the heart, a certain calling, a certain wanting a sense of oneness with everything, wanting harmony, wanting peace, and wanting to override some of this day-to-day things which we take for granted, the reproduction of the day-to-day life, the conflict, the fear, and the relentless seeking, searching. All this we are ready to let go. And so the grammarian was not. And so therefore, he uses the verb to do, because there are many verbs he could have said. He could have said so many other things. Why does he use the word to cringe? Why that particular verb? Because the verb to do features very, very strongly in the first part of one's life before one wakes up to the spiritual call of finding what is it that I want to do. Because what is it that I really want? Do I want to just be, or do I want to keep doing? It's a very tiring thing to keep doing. In the beginning, one feels excited. Oh, yes, I'm a doer. People say this proudly in America and in Western countries. I'm a doer. I can't sit still. I want to do things. Okay, that's fine, but then after a while, it's the death of me. It's like doing for what? Finite results, finite actions yielding finite results, which is okay if I want the finite, but I happen to want the infinite, and therefore the doing does not satisfy at all. So that's why Adi Shankara purposely uses the verb to do. Meaning, not only are grammar rules not going to protect you at the end of your life if you have led this kind of a life of just doing, and also endless doing is not going to help you at the time of reckoning, at the time of fear, at the time of the end of this life, a very precious life, I may add, because it's only in the human body can we look for ashrams, can we look for knowledge. Even though there is a cat that comes and sits on the cushion every morning, right here, we have seen it. We have all seen it, if not this time, in previous times. And even though it is there, it sits the whole time in the morning satsang, and sometimes it comes also to the night satsangs. It does not understand anything. Okay? And it's not meant to understand anything. It's not meant to understand anything. Why? Because this time around, it's just supposed to bat everything that moves and just lead a life. That's all it is. It's just exhausting some karma. It's not trying to. It's not trying to look for anything. It's incapable of doing that because it doesn't have the right body. The human being is the right body, the human body, because it has the privilege of desiring. The privilege of desiring and the privilege of not being programmed to do anything. I am free, really. I am conscious of myself. I'm conscious of everything else. I'm free to desire. But this freedom comes at a cost, because that freedom to desire can be my nemesis when I let the desires take over me. I have to be in the driver's seat. I have to be the one which is driving these desires rather than be driven crazy by the desires. And even though you say, don't worry, I am in the driver's seat, very soon it becomes a driverless car. Very soon. And actually, it's a driverless car because the desire driving it is invisible. You don't know it is there, but it is driving one mad. So this way, Adi Shankara, right in the beginning, says, you need to focus on what is important. These Pandit stories are very much there in the tradition. There's one more Pandit story. And what is that Pandit story? One Pandit ji was going in the Ganga. You know what is the Ganga? What is Ganga? River. Yeah, river. So he was in Varanasi on the banks of the Ganga. He wanted to cross over, not literally, okay? Not figuratively, literally. He wanted to cross over to the other side. So he found that the one that was driving him was an unlettered boatman. Taking him without a care in the world, he's using the oars and taking the Panditji across. And the Panditji should have just enjoyed the ride. No, no, no. Panditji was wanting to show off his erudition. So what did Panditji say? Hey, boatman, do you know grammar? Sanskrit grammar, Vyakarana, do you know? He said, Vyakaran se kya karna? What, meaning, what should I do with grammar? What will I do with grammar? I have never even seen the face of a Gurukula, a school. What will I do with grammar? I don't need it for boating. Oh, he makes these clucking gecko noises. And then what does he say? 1/4 of your life is gone. And then what? Then he still can't keep quiet. Then he says, do you know Sahitya, boatman? Literature. And says, no, I don't know what literature is. What is literature? Oh no, cluck, cluck, cluck. Half of your life is gone. Do you know the Vedas? No. 3/4 of your life is gone, my man. It's totally gone. And suddenly Panditji felt a little puddle by his feet. and nobody was washing his feet or honoring him. What could it be? Oh no, the boat has sprung a leak. Boatman, what's happening? Panditji, do you know how to swim? No, says the Panditji. Your whole life is gone. So that's one verse, my friends. So now we can open it up for questions. More we'll see tomorrow. Here, Isha.
Okay.
Do you want to take it? You go ahead.
He also went.
She can wait if he was first here. Please go ahead. I didn't see you. Yeah.
Who else? Someone has a question? No.
You didn't have a question. Yeah,
No,
that's
I
what.
got up, I was getting up to get the mic.
Oh, no, no, no. Okay, I thought. That's what I thought. That's why I said Isha. Okay.
I came prepared.
Yes.
Thank you, Swamini. My question is about from your lecture yesterday. You were describing, I'm going to try to say back what I heard, and you can correct me because I'm not sure I heard it. I want to make sure I understood. So, you were describing the ways in which we get confused between this cognition and
I cognition.
I cognition
Yes.
and objects
Yes.
in
Objects of this cognition. Yeah.
yeah,
Yes.
and the I cognition as the confusion that occurs there. And my question is about the separation between I cognition and objects in cognition.
Yeah.
Because my sense is that in Vedanta, there's also the teachings of all of object cognition as part of Atman.
Yes.
And so I see how drawing the distinction is very helpful for elucidating the
Yes.
confusion.
Yes.
But then also just wanted to clarify that object cognitions are all in
Brahman.
Brahman as well. And
Yes,
so, okay.
Isha knows a lot. So, Isha, you're right. See, if in the beginning we have to separate in order to unite. The separation is needed only because there is a mix-up. There's a mix-up between this and I, the indweller of this body. You see, the separation is not there. There is a mix-up. First, it is my body when I'm conscious of it. Otherwise, most of the time it is I body, me body, I fat, I thin, I tall, I short. So the attributes of the body are owned up by who? The indweller, so to speak. The ahankara, which should be, the ahankara means the I notion, owns up the body as itself, and it needs to be walked over to the truth of itself, which is the all-pervasive, limitless Brahman. Consciousness, awareness, all knowledge, limitless I. That is where this I notion has to be walked over. Yeah. Right now, it is not there. Right now, what is it doing? It is grabbing everything as me, 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 me. And so we have to separate. But that's the separation is Vedanta 101. Okay? And then so first we say there are two kinds of things in the universe. This is important for us to understand. And they are like light and darkness. The I is like the light which reveals everything, including itself, and everything else needs to be revealed. And so that's the first big difference between the I and the not I, or the objects of I, this cognition and I cognition. I is the revealer, everything else is cognized and revealed. Second very important distinction is the I is the only sentient thing in the universe. Everything else is what? Insentient, inert. I alone is, what is the opposite of inert? Earth. I alone is sentient. Everything else is insentient. Whatever I can objectify, insentient. Body is in the room, insentient. Oh, but what about everybody is an I? Yes. The I in me is the I in you, the I in he, she, it, everything. It's all just I. But first, right from the beginning, if we keep nurturing this mix-up and then try to go for the teaching of everything as one, we will be a confused mess. We are already a confused mess. It is TBC, to be continued, being a confused mess. So first you have to separate, and then you, as though unite, which is that which is already one. It needs no unification. But first the mix-up has to be separated. Mix-up has to be separated, and the mix-up is a mistake. In Sanskrit, it's called a projection. Adhi plus asaha. Asaha, throwing, adhi on top of something, and so adhyasa. It's a mistake. It's a projection. It's a projection of something that is not there. And that is the projection. The projection is wrong. And we have a stock example to illustrate the projection. Does anybody know what it is? Rope snake, yes. We don't know that the rope snake is aropa. Yeah, aropa means projection. So the snake projection comes. I can project the snake because the rope is neither totally unknown nor is it totally known. That's why the example is always very cleverly set at twilight. Yeah, at twilight. So the rope is seen with 3 bends. And in fact, let us go a step further and make it frayed. It's a frayed rope, so the top of the rope looks like this. What is that? The tongue of the cobra that I'm about to project on this. And I indistinctly see it. It is there on the front yard in 3 bends. And quickly, what does the person conclude? What do I conclude? Eek, snake. Why? Because I see something there, but I don't know fully what it is. That's why on this partially known rope, a projection can happen. The projection cannot happen when it is pitch dark. On a totally unknown rope, you cannot project anything, and neither can you project a snake on a totally known rope. You cannot do that, because I know it as rope. So then, what do? I shine the flashlight behind the mobile phone. Everybody has one. And then, this is just a frayed rope. In fact, I am frayed. That's just a rope. I can say that. The mistake is corrected. So the I, in a similar way, is just embroiled, and we'll see more tonight about more about this. Is embroiled in a lot of things. It's entangled in the not I so much that mistake has to be corrected. I'm as good as the body. I'm as good as the mind. All these are projections. Nobody loves me, nobody cares, and all these things. I'm an idiot, I'm not good enough, I'm not successful enough. All these are projections on the I that is perfect and free of all projections. So that since the I is a storehouse, a warehouse, it's called warehouse because I don't know where these projections came from. It's a warehouse of projections. And so therefore we have to be, we have to be able to separate that and throw away the projections, leaving the light to shine, the light of consciousness as me to shine. Very good question.
So, Miniji, in the long time studying Vedanta, I still struggle sometimes with trusting in Bhagavan and not fall prey to these projections. And could you suggest some more exercises, meditation, I know.
Yeah, that's an
and
important one.
prayers, you know.
That's an important one, and I commend you for being so candid about it. Because this is something which is difficult to even come out and say, I don't trust God. Yeah, it's very difficult to say. But in so doing, you have opened up everybody's hearts, and everybody, as soon as your question came, the whole energy in the room changed. They were like, oh, thank God, okay. Yeah. Everybody kind of relaxed. Everybody said, okay, no problem. I belong here. So that was very good. I'm happy you did that. And but first let us look at the issue itself before we are all fixers in life, and we like to just quickly suggest something. And so I'm going to stop myself right there. And instead, I'm going to just invite us to just look at the issue. I don't trust Ishvara. I don't trust Bhagavan, Bhagavati, God, Goddess, in whatever way I conceive of, I do not trust. This is hardly surprising. Do we see God anywhere? Hello? Are you there? No answer came? Okay? All right? So, first of all, not locally available. This is what is God, not locally available, and taught by many mainstream religions as the guy in the sky somewhere, and who has made this place called earth and then gone and repaired to heaven. And then, okay, where is this God? In heaven. And then what does this God look like? Oh, God is formless. Okay, formless. Why does the formless require a space to live? Why does the formless, that which doesn't have a form, why should it require a place to live? No, shut up. You're asking all too many questions. This is all blasphemous. You must not ask all these questions. So we are confused. We don't know, first of all, what God is. We don't know where God is. And then we are supposed to believe. How to believe? Why to believe? How to trust? Belief is another word for trust. You're supposed to believe. And then people ask, sometimes they even ask me, oh, do you believe in God? And I keep saying that Vedanta does not say God is a product of belief. That which we call God is something to be understood as non-separate from myself. The highest aspect or the highest reality of myself is God. That which I can access at certain points in time, not always, unless I begin the study of Vedanta. That is what I have to do. So, therefore, we have to have this understanding that what we call God is not something to believe in. It is something to understand. And in the interim, the belief is more like a trust pending understanding, an interim trust. But then, that trust will naturally not be there, because what we call God is the ultimate authority figure. And nobody has an easy time with authority figures. That's why we all want to work from home. We don't want to go back to the office. We want to just stay at home. Everybody wants to be their own boss. We don't like people being above us. Nobody likes that. Yes. That's why it's a very nice plan to become a Swami. Yes, it's wonderful. Yeah. Very, very nice. Yeah. And so, there is the concept of being lorded over, I cannot handle. Whether it is, no one can handle being lorded over, whether that lording is happening through a spouse or through a friend or through anybody, it's not okay. Usually, the source of this authority issue are the primary caregivers. So this is how it is. Because the child develops distrust where? In relation to the primary caregivers. And the mother and father or whoever raised us could have been wonderful people, could be still wonderful people. But mind you, this is the brain of the child. This is the eyes of a child. And what does the child say? Oh, this mom, this one called mom, doesn't love me at all. Why? Because she has gone and locked herself in the bathroom and I don't know when she's going to come out. That's what the child thinks. She doesn't know the mother is going to come out in 5 minutes or 10 minutes. She's gone to take a shower. The child immediately feels insecure and abandoned. And in the beginning, the child has to put all its trust in the caregivers, because how else will it grow up? It has to trust somebody. It has to have, in fact, what we call total trust. Total trust in the caregivers. And because it is totally helpless. Total helplessness is overcompensated by total trust. But the child, as its brain develops, it says, oh, these people are not infallible. I was wrong. My teacher used to tell a wonderful story. My teacher tells this story. What was the story? The 2-year-old child sees a cockroach. Ah! It has never seen a cockroach in its life. It's a huge cockroach, tropical cockroach. And then, what does it do? It tries to grab on to the mother, save me, help. And the mother leaves the child right there and climbs on the dining table. Ah, she screams, louder than the child. The father, being very clever, doesn't even come into the room. From there he says, just handle it, okay? Yeah. And the child's trust drops. Totally drops. These are all very, this is what happens. This is all how the erosion of trust happens. Until the individual does not trust anybody. Yes. And then one feels good about it. Yes, I have a healthy distrust. This is how to go through life. I have to protect myself. You're not going to come and protect me. Nobody is. I have to protect myself. And how do I protect myself? By not trusting you at all. Who are you? Why did you come into my life? Go away. This is the kind of, we have that kavacha. What is kavacha in English? Armor. We have an armor of distrust, and the armor of distrust is one's only protection. But in order to grow out of this lonely place of isolation, because I have an armor of distrust and then now inside that I'm lonely. I first made sure nobody comes and visits, because this is my little cage. I'm safe in the cage. And then after that, oh no, I'm imprisoned. Let me out, let me out, let me out. This is what happens. Let me out. But first, let me in. I don't trust anybody. I want in. And then what? No, I'm bored, I'm tired, I'm lonely. Let me out. The jiva, the individual, is very, very complex. So when I look at the source of distrust as being the primary caregivers, that is where the work has to happen. Because God is not the problem. The problem is me reckoning with my past. So I have to do, the best way to do this is to do inner child work. And we take the whole inner child work for granted because this whole modality has been there for a long time. And then we say, yeah, I know how to do this, yeah, it doesn't work. But actually, it's the only thing that works. Because there is a split in the heart between the adult who is trying to be integrated and the child, which is a bunch of unfulfilled needs. wanting attention, wanting love, wanting care, frozen needs that can never be thought out, needs that have just to be let go of in a way. And the needs don't matter, really. What the object of the need doesn't matter. That the little child needs to be acknowledged and loved matters. So you have to be the parent, and you have to look at your little self, and you have to love that child up. Somebody was telling me recently, I can't bear to look at my childhood photos. I have destroyed most of them. That tells a lot. That tells a lot. So, one has to love this child. One has to totally be in love with this child, and we don't throw away the inner child, it integrates into the adult. And the moment I feel like I am reliving the pain, that means I have become one with the child. I have to be one with the parent. So sometimes you have to do it in front of the mirror. Make the reflection the child, and you continue to be the parent. That helps. Sometimes it helps to have a table like this and make 2 cups of tea. One for you, one for the inner child. And so you sit down on this side of the table, have a sip, go that side and sit down, and then let the inner child gain your trust. At first it will not trust. It will say, oh, come on, you've been there for me all my life? Never. You're too busy. You're too busy trying to not acknowledge me and not acknowledge my feelings. So you have to gain its trust. You have to love it up. That is the main thing. Second is, make the distrust itself a part of your prayer. Just say, oh ye who is the object of my distrust, good morning to you. How do you feel about yourself today? Oh God, oh Goddess. Yeah. And I have complete reasons to distrust you. I don't know you. And when I get to know you, I don't even know where you are. And if you really cared about me, you would not let all these horrible things would have happened to me. And you would not be sitting somewhere, I don't know where. You haven't come to my aid even once. What have you done? This is prayer in Hindu tradition. This is prayer. This is absolutely a very important form of prayer. In fact, one of the most holy prayers, the Sri Rudram, is like that. I don't know who you are, it starts. You look scary, and you have a bow and arrow in your hand, and looks like it's directed towards me. No, I've been good. This one has been worse. Go over there. Point the bow somewhere else. Not me. And then the devotee prays, look at what strong and huge arms you have. My salutations to them, Namaha. And the hand is carrying a very strong bow. And then you have a whole quiver of arrows, which is making me quiver. That's why it's called quiver. That, looking upon which, makes me quiver. Yes. And then you just look kind of wretched. You see, these are all my own projections out of distrust. And when those projections are made public, it's made into a social fact, it is deified into a form of prayer, it's the most powerful intervention there is, really. A most powerful intervention, because they are no longer my feelings, it's no longer my distrust. What does it become? It becomes part of the psychological order. Very beautiful it is. Part of the psychological order, an order that is so vast that it includes disorder. An order that is not opposed to disorder. The disorder is part of another order, usually the karmic order. And in the psychological order, in my own distress, I have found God. That psychological order is God. Why? Because when we say order, it's a law. And what is the law? Given this background, the adult child will have trust issues. Yeah. Then it's no longer your issue. It's everybody's issue. And this is how this 2-pronged approach, one within, one without. So therefore you neither implode nor you explode.
Wonderful, Sanjay. Thank you so much.
Yes. How are you?
Om Saminichi,
Good.
good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We were waiting for you to come back.
I'm flattered.
So my question relates to the influence of our actions.
Yes?
Last year you were saying you have every right to act, but you have no say over the results of actions.
Very good homework you have done.
And the question is more like in the bigger context. When we look at the world right now, there is so much overwhelm. There is a new president in the United States. There is climate change. And there are so many people who feel overwhelmed
Yes.
and they shrink. And the question is really sort of how much influence has my action, or when I look at my life, I feel it's guided. There is something else that works through
Yes.
me.
Yes.
So that's the bigger context
Yes.
of the question.
You see, this is a translation, as you know, of one of the verses of the Bhagavad Gita. Karmani eva adhikarahate ma bhaleshu kadachana. In action you have freedom of action, but you don't call the results. It's not necessary that just because you have acted, you will get the result that you want. In fact, most of the time, what do you get? What you don't want. Yes. Murphy's law prevails in every situation. You get what you do not want. So therefore, this again is part of the karmic law. The karmic law is that, you can act, but the results of your action are given by the karmic order, which is another iteration of Ishvara, Bhagavan, God, Goddess. And so, therefore, should I not act at all? No, I should act. Everybody should act. If you have a cause that you are passionate about, definitely follow it, do that, and then do whatever it is that you need to do. But allow yourself to expect the unexpected. Expecting the expected is expecting something is normal. When I do something naturally, I'll have certain expectations, otherwise I won't do it. Correct? So naturally I have certain expectations, but then we learn to expect the unexpected. We learn to expect whatever comes. First, I learned to not be shocked, because karma is like a shock absorber. It is not fatalism really. It's that guidedness that you were talking about. So I learned to expect the unexpected, because then I say, okay, the results of this may be karmic in nature. I worked hard, but the neighbor got the promotion. So must be karmic in nature. So in some way, it's a little soothing. Okay, it's not my fault. I have done my best. This time, I was not successful. Maybe next time I will get lucky. Maybe next time I can think about what I have done, what I can do differently. Perhaps I'll be blessed with some wisdom. So like this, we can grow to do that, to expect the unexpected. So that is number one. Number two, the unexpected sometimes is unpleasant. I have to make peace with the unpleasant. That's what it is. I have to make peace with it and what helps to make peace with it is to stop calling it unpleasant. Because I'm already conditioning my response. If I say this is unpleasant, this situation is unpleasant, this person is unpleasant, this food is unpleasant, whatever it is. If I qualify it by the word unpleasant, then definitely I will become unpleasant. Correct? Because in relation to all this, I will get in a bad mood because I just feel like I'm always confronted by the unpleasant. So I change the vocabulary because thoughts have power. Thoughts have a lot of power. We undermine ourselves. We underestimate how much power the thoughts have. So if I stop calling it unpleasant, then I say, okay, it is just something to be dealt with. So then what happens is I grow into a person for whom the unpleasant has now become pleasant. Yes, that is the growth, that is the guidance, that is how it is. So, in short, yes, you can act wherever you can, and intervene in your life, and then also be prepared to know and to expect that whatever you expect may not happen. And we learn to be okay with that, because nothing is the end of the world. Nothing is. It appears, especially if it appears like that. Oh my God, if I don't get this, I will die. Many people think like this. And they don't get this. And they don't die. Yeah.
But maybe just a follow-up question on a macro level, like when we look at climate change,
Yes.
there are people who are saying, this is going to end, and this world has been here billions of years, it will be billions of years, we're in Kali Yuga, and so there's like this higher level where all these organizations, the Greenpeace.
Yeah. Well, you see, the thing is, nothing ever comes to an end. Neither matter nor energy doesn't come to an end. What to talk of the conscious being who is saying matter, who is objectifying both matter and energy? If an inert things like matter and energy don't come to an end, you can't add anything to it, you can't take away anything from it. And so, why should I, the conscious being, come to an end? This is just logic. This is not even Vedanta. But it's important to help ourselves with some of this kind of a logic, because herein lies our redemption when we are confronted with macro events over which we have no power, nothing. And then we say climate change, and yes, we should be responsible, we should not pollute our rivers, we should not pollute our air, we should not pollute all the other sources, because we should not pollute the earth, because we are really polluting our own lungs, our own stomachs, our own lives. There is that synergy, and it's important to recognize that. And yes, this is all correct. This is all leading an ecologically responsible life, leading a spiritually ecological life is very, very important. But then, climate change, when we look at the macro things, like things were not always like this. 50 million years ago, we are told that all the icy areas of the Arctic were green. This is what they have recently found out. They were green. And all the tropical and subtropical animals were gamboling in the greenery. Even Greenland was green. Yeah, that's why maybe it's still called Greenland. So it was very green. And so now, so many million years later, now it is all iced up. And this is our reality. And what do we say? Oh my God, the ice flows are melting. The glaciers are melting very fast. And there is global warming. All that, yes, it should be concerning, whatnot. But the thing is, we just have to see what we can do within our power to lead an ecologically responsible life, because the local and the global are very much intertwined. The macro and the micro speak to one another. As we say in Sanskrit, Pindanda, which is this particular body, mind, sense complex, Brahmanda, which is the cosmos. It's all interrelated, it's connected. And one thing we learn from the Bhagavad Gita is to really start here. It's all an inside job, because the macro is very overwhelming. Where am I going to go to stop climate change? Well, what can I do? The very thought is overwhelming. I start with what I can do. Common sense solutions,
Hello. Um, in the
Hi.
story you were speaking about today, you had a contrast between the boatman and the grammar man,
Yes.
and how the boatman can't learn the grammar and the grammar man won't know how to swim. So I guess what I was wondering is, before they became respected in their own rights, what advice would you give to someone who's trying to decide whether they want to be the boatman or be the grammar man?
Excellent question. Very nice. Yes. Let the inner guru guide you. There is one in everyone. That is called buddhi, wisdom. And that wisdom is shy. It doesn't come out easily. And if it sees, it does not like conflict. It does not like a lot of noise and chatter. If it sees that there is a lot of internal chatter, it just goes and hides, like a fish behind a rock. It will not come out. So we have to give it space to come out. That means spending time in sacred solitude, allowing all the surface level preferences and prejudices to just calm down, suspending them if possible, spending time in the company of people who are like minded in terms of spiritual thinking, spending time with gurus and guides, spending times listening to the Upanishad, and then that will clear the thicket of preferences, prejudices, fears, tears, and the, the bats of indecision in the cave of the buddhi. And so, when that clearing happens, the answer will come. You know exactly what you want in life. And also, who says you have to choose? Why not be a boat grammarian? Yeah. A ferry person who is a grammarian. Nice. Yes.
Um, I'm curious how you would go about looking at terror.
At what?
Terror.
Terror as in anxiety times 100 or terror as in terrorism?
The first one.
Yes, okay. That is, usually one is afraid of fear itself. One is afraid of many things, but one is most afraid of fear. Fear means being out of control. The sheer terror of being absolutely out of control. That something is going to snap, that it is beyond a level that I can handle. It's like a naked fear I'm looking at, and it's going to consume and annihilate me. That is what is terror. Unfortunately, it's all too common. Whether we acknowledge it or not, everybody carries some anxiety in the heart. And again, this is a brave question to even be able to look at this. My guru would always say, make friends with the fear. Again, 2 cups of tea, one for the terror, one for me. And then I tell the terror, you know what, I have the time in the world. I am in a good space today. Fortify yourself with some meditation, prayer, everything. I'm in a good space today and I just want to look at you a little bit. Maybe I'm not ready to see the whole of you. Come and show me your face. Don't be a jack in the box and startle me like that. No. just peek. Let's just do a little peep. Let's look at each other. Maybe you are afraid of me too, as much as I'm afraid of you. Come on, terror. Come and say hello. I'm ready to look at you. And then, if you start feeling the panic attack and everything, have a paper bag handy right there, because we have to finish this exercise. Breathe into the paper bag. Very nice. Why? Because some carbon dioxide immediately makes the terror go down. Try it. Really effective. And put the paper bag aside and said, what were we talking about? Oh yeah, I was going to have a look at you. Come now. And then when you look at the fear, it kind of fades away, because all the things that you're afraid of, you can handle. But sometimes one is afraid of fear itself. So the terror itself becomes terrifying. And that also, that has to be addressed bit by bit. And then you can take some Bach flower remedies. Do you know what they are? Bach, like the musician, B-A-C-H. So he was a very successful doctor, but he left his practice and became a sage. He just went to various places. He was called in the forest, wandered around like a holy person without any moorings, and then he was led to a system of 38 flowers, a system comprising 38 flowers, each for a different overwhelming emotion. So you can look at that and take some of the remedies for terror. That would be really, really effective as well. Yeah. I will tell you the names afterwards. We can talk more.
Raise the hand if you have.
Raise the head.
The head. So I'll ask in the meantime. You can think. So since he said terror, and my first thought was about the other kind of terror that you mentioned, terrorism. So I'm just interested, because I know in the Puranas there's a lot about good and evil and...
Asuras.
Yes.
Yes. Asuras
So-
means like demons, yeah.
Yeah. So do we need them in order to, like we need the darkness in order to see the stars? We need these asuras in order to... Why do we need them, basically?
Why do we need asuras? Unfortunately, they are in us. Yes. They are, those asuras are just, what are they called? Ideal, typical caricatures brought to life with handlebar. They look very ugly, with handlebar mustache and pronounced canines coming out like that. But that's not what asuras look like. Asuras are our own tendencies, the worst of our own tendencies and our own nature, when it is uninformed by spiritual life, spiritual growth. Those are the terrible ones. So, what Vedanta teaches us, what Bhagavad Gita teaches us first and foremost, is to start by minding our own business. And when we mind, that is Swadharma, literally. Swadharma means minding my own business. And when we start minding our own business, we grow. And then we become much more compassionate to the asuras in others, because I have made peace with my inner asuras. So I have to convert them into babies. That is what I have to do, toothless babies. So what are the asuras? Strong preferences, which make me behave demented. Strong prejudices. These are the asuras. I have to learn to not let them drive my life. I have to learn to drive. So, whether we like it or not, every heart is full of these kinds of doubts, fears, strong preferences, strong prejudices, all that is there. So, this is why we have to work on ourselves. And when we work on ourselves, we understand why these things were there and how to override the reaction of the asuras and to within, and to make my response much more slow, much more in keeping with the will of Bhagavan, Ishvara. That is how I grow. There is not my will that is separate from the will of the universe. The aligning of the two is what is very important. That is a very easy way to access oneness because there is no conflict.
Anybody can go before me, but I have many questions. So this question is about fairness.
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 Okay.
You know, we can say this world is perfect and complete on one hand, but then we see all the misery, and we see people being born, people being slaughtered, accidents, plane crashes. Now, the short answer is karma.
The long answer is also karma.
Huh?
You can elongate it.
Exactly. So the short answer is it's all karma, but sort of how do you bridge the two?
What are the two things that you want to bridge?
So if we say the divine is perfect and complete, everything is perfect and complete. But then we open our eyes and we see misery, and then there is a gap that is sort of what I see is not what I read or what I hear.
You see, it all comes down to my definition of perfect and complete. And that is where we have to do the work. What does perfect mean? What does complete mean? Especially seen in this world, in the form of this world. Because I see the world through my own filters, it will never look perfect and complete. The perfection is an abstraction at best, or some kind of a sadism at worst. How can it be perfect and complete when my vision is itself colored by so many things? It's colored by my definition of what God is or should be. It is colored by my own likes and dislikes, my prejudices and preferences. It is colored by my experiences, early childhood experiences, the traumas and everything that I have undergone. It is colored by my socialization, in what kind of a family, how I was raised, how I was brought up. It is colored by the contemporary society in which I live. So really, the perfect and complete is not a perfect and complete definition at all. It is a very subjective definition of what is perfect and complete. And what you or I might think is perfect and complete is not somebody else's definition of either perfection or completeness. I mean, even in rural India, we find this all the time. In one area of the village, there is a wedding, outdoor wedding, and they are praying, no rain, no rain, no rain. In the other area of the village, the farmer says, rain. Where is the rain? Oh God, give rain. Which is perfect and complete. You know, it is coming from one's own preferences and prejudices and all the other things we listed just now. So to know that my expectation of the universe is colored by all these things is itself making it much more objective. In acknowledging this, I have really gone from the subjective to the objective. In acknowledging that there are subjective elements in my life is the most objective acknowledgement. That's wonderful. I may not be able to, I see that I'm the culprit of these conditionings, and I may not be able to override them. And that's okay. So then the words perfect and complete have a different meaning. I can say, please let me see how this Jagat means this universe, starting with my own body, mind, sense complex, is non-separate from Ishvara. That is what I have to do. I have to be able to see Ishvara in the Jagat. This is how the saints ended up becoming saints. That is a saintly response to the universe and everything that is there in it. Whether we talk of fairness, unfairness, inequality, and difficulties, etc. But that doesn't mean one becomes callous or numb to other people's needs or wants. Whatever I can do, I do. How many ever people I can inspire to do, I do. I help out. Wherever I see unfairness, I can make a statement. I can do whatever it is. But here we are talking of that which I cannot override. So I do whatever I can do, and the rest I see in the world the knowledge of Ishvara. That infallible knowledge which transcends what I call perfect and what I call imperfect, what I call complete, what I call incomplete, what I call good, what I call bad. That which transcends that is where I want to be. So best to start out with seeing the world as a manifestation of Goddess Lord. And then we go from there to manage our own subjectivity. And by acknowledging that there is subjectivity in the way I look at the universe. Sharada.
Thank you. Swaminiji, could you please speak about Pratipaksha Bhavana and the idea of looking at the other side of things, specifically with regard to feeling worthy?
Feeling worthy. Pratipaksha Bhavana is like the shoe on the other foot. Like being in the other person's shoes, looking at a particular thing from the standpoint of another person. It's called Pratipaksha Bhava. And that is a very important sadhana. It's a sadhana because I learn to see other people's points of view. I'm able to see that, I'm able to understand that, I'm able to adjust my own reactivity in the light of knowing that maybe the other person also has a reason for being a certain way. And so that really helps. And what was the, in relation to feeling unworthy?
Yes.
Okay.
If I feel unworthy,
Yeah.
I can use it for myself.
Like that. I don't know that the Pratipaksha Bhavana will help. What you can do is, yes, it can definitely help. You tell yourself, it's like a kind of a conditioning, and it's not really a conditioning because you are not unworthy at all. Nobody is unworthy. So you tell yourself the opposite of what you are feeling repeatedly and discover the truth of that. And actually, even though Swamiji, my guru, would call it as fake it until you make it, you're not really faking it, because the truth is you are worthy. But You're faking it when you feel unworthy. That's when you're faking it. In fact, you're faking it right now. And you're making it when you say, I am whole, I am okay, I am not unworthy. And then you can give yourself little proofs. I am not unworthy because, and then you put dot, 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 dash, 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 and you fill up that sentence. And every day before you go to bed, do an affirmation. And I'm not unworthy because, look, I have accomplished this, or I have grown in this manner. Every day you do something new. And after a week, read what you have written. That will feel good.
Swaminiji, what is the role of memory and dreams in the spiritual path? Are there any significance in that?
Memory and dreams are two things, two different things. Dreams, the raw material for dreams is memory, but it doesn't go the other way around. And so we talk of two kinds of dreams. One is a mixture of memory and desire. That's the dream. Something that I already knew and something that I want and I can't get in the waking state, or I won't let myself have it because I feel repressed or something like that. But in the dream state, that repression is not there. You see? So the first kind of dream is the regular kind of dream where there is memory, there is desire, and that memory and desire comes out in certain ways in the dream. Carl Jung called every dream an unopened letter. He said he really thought a lot about dreams. They have symbols, they have meanings, but we learn how to interpret them. Because those symbols can be universal, but then there are also specific, particular symbols that one has that speak to one. There could be a universal symbol, eagle, for example, freedom, flight, something like that. But the eagle could mean something very, very specific for a certain person. And, so that's why it's difficult. That's why sometimes the letters can remain unopened. It's okay. We say in Vedanta, no need to start opening it if you don't know how to open it. If you know how to open it and if it's not, the contents are readable, then it's good. But if you don't know how to open it, better to let that go. Just laugh at it, let it go. Sometimes the symbolism is very, very obvious, and then you can learn something about yourself. This is regular kind of dreams, which 99% of the dreams are. But the few dreams are what in English is called lucid dreaming. In Sanskrit is called ubhayata prajna. Ubhayata prajna. Where one is conscious that one is dreaming. It's kind of not the dream, not waking state. Kind of an as though dual consciousness. Ubhayata prajna means dual consciousness. And there, some of those kinds of dreams, which many people I'm sure have had, are prophetic in nature. Either about your own life or about the future of the world. Those can be shared, and sometimes, there are in Aboriginal, among the Aborigines in Australia and New Zealand, there are whole societies called dreaming societies. People, elders, leaders, who eat only certain things because they want to be in that place. So they won't eat regular food. They will just eat a few things, and then their job is to dream for the whole society that they live in, to guide them towards the future. So those are that kinds of dreams. The memories can be pleasant or again unpleasant. The unpleasant memories haunt and make one feel guilty and hurt. So they have to be dealt with and let go of. You can just understand that I have done my best and I can let it go. That is the thing. Pleasant memories don't bother, so it's not worth discussing those.
Swamini, I was thinking back on the question the answer you gave earlier about seeing Ishwar in everything as a way of being in the world. And my question is, right now I feel that for myself, to do that takes effort. I've gotten...
It does take effort.
And I'm wondering about how to do that more effortlessly.
It's just practice. We have to understand,
Where did you
see,
say
in the beginning it's deliberate, but then it becomes natural. Why does it become natural? It becomes natural because you understand the logic behind it. In the beginning it's more of an exercise. After that it becomes you. Because when you say this is Ishvara, that is Ishvara, here an Ishvara, there an Ishvara, everywhere, Shwara, Shwara. When you say that, then what happens is that, it's easy to find Ishvara in the pleasant. And if there is some kind of a person who's complaining a lot and who is like all the time critical and criticizing you, everybody has one such person at least in their lives. And then how to see Ishvara in that kind of a person? How do you do that? But actually that's where we have to practice. You have to see that person as someone who has come to exhaust some of your karma by making you feel exhausted. You see? Yes. That is the way to look at it. I look, even in the things that I do not like, I see Ishvara as someone who is in this particular form, who has come to exhaust some of my karma to help me grow. So then you're not looking any longer at the individual person. You're looking at yourself, your response to them, what it brings out in you. You're looking at the you spot it, you got it syndrome. You're looking back at yourself. That's why I love Vedanta. It's all about me, me, me.
That's very helpful.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a follow-up. Yeah.
Follow-up. So how do you react to a situation like that if you're thinking that you're, getting off your karma, so how do you react? Do you not say anything or?
You give them a flower. Yeah. You have helped my growth here. You have no idea what you have done for me here. And if it helps, you can give it like that. Yeah. I met a teacher in the Bahamas and she told me to give you a flower. Take. Then that means you have to give it the next day as well. The next day, then you will take a peek, you'll take a look, you don't deserve it, let me see what your face looks like, all right. But then you understand, you can't help just smiling. That's what it is. You grow. You thank them for helping you grow. Yes.
The point that had come up earlier about the identification
Closer, you keep the mic, yeah.
Identification with the I and the identification with the non-I.
This cognition, yeah.
Then you started today's talk with Govindam.
Yeah.
And you said, go bhihi vindate.
Yes.
But you have also quoted at other times the aprapya manasasaha, where there are no words, you don't comprehend through words.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's true. It's an as-though contradiction. How do you understand God? Through the words of Vedanta. But the words you don't deploy. The words are deployed for you. It's called a means of knowledge for something you cannot see. You let the pramana operate on you. You are not in charge of operating this. You are in charge of operating what is there to see. It's my own eyes, it's my own ears. But here the words come from outside. That's why it's so scary. That's why there is so much fear. That's why there is so much terror, because I am out of control here. I have nothing to do here. So that's why in the Veda in Vedanta you will find similar words. Manasa eva idam aptavyam, Kathopanishad. And in Kenopanishad, yan manasana manute, yena ahur manomatam. So therefore, so in one place it says it is known through the mind. Or mean not through the mind, but that's how it is kept. The mind is an instrument for which knowing. And then in another Upanishad, this is not comprehended by the mind. So that means it's a knowledge that takes place in the mind, for which the mind is not an agent of action. So the mind is not the author of this knowledge, the mind is not the agent of this knowledge, the mind is simply a clear receptacle in which this knowledge of wholeness takes place.
Like how curd happens
Curd happens?
from milk,
Uh-huh.
where it happens on its own.
No, here it doesn't happen on its own. Yeah, that's why I was a little, skeptical about the curdling. Yes. So, because it doesn't happen on its own. Because it's you, really. What we are talking of is you and your nature. Since it's you, then that knowledge is occluded, like Rahu on earth, so like the eclipse. So it's eclipsed. So even though I complain, oh, it's a total solar eclipse, the sun has been eclipsed. In fact, it's because of the sun that I can see the eclipse. You see? So the eclipse is removed with the words, with the power of the everyday words that you know, but deployed very pedagogically, deployed very concisely, specifically and pedagogically, like Sat, Chit, Ananda, all these things. And then what those words do is to remove the eclipse, the cataract in front of the eyes that is denying me the vision of no division. And once the cataract is removed, all there is that oneness.
So it is also not necessary that when we do Govindam the way you defined it,
Yeah.
to be Dvaita versus the Aprapya Manasasaha to be of Nirguna.
No, it is nirguna. That's why the mind cannot catch it and grasp it as an object. But it is that which is the truth of the mind, the content of the thinker, the content of the knower, the content of the known. It's all one. That is what it is. That is I. That is consciousness. That is Vedanta. That is what is called awareness. And so the mind cannot grasp it as an object. That's where aprapya. It is not, nagrihyate. It cannot be caught. And so it's not an object to be caught, so it beats a retreat. But then you ask the mind to come through the back door, through the service entrance, and to sit quietly and listen and open itself up as the receptacle of knowledge for the knowledge to take place. And the operation that's happening is cleanup, operation cleanup. So the eclipse is being cleaned up. And then the you already is a self-shining you, limitless and whole. Okay, enough? Yes? Om sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramayaah, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrityorma amritangamaya. Om purnamadav purnamidam purnat purnamudachyate, purnasya purnamadaya purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you very much. Very nice to see all of you.